I'm Curtis Rauen, and welcome to Final Take. Joining me on the debate desk tonight is Adam Yirkovsky and Marty Kauffman. Well, guys, how are you doing on this cold? It's almost like winter right now in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. There's snow on the ground, which I'm a big fan of snow, so I'm happy to see that. But I could do without the wind and the cold. But other than that, I'm doing really good.
I'm not a fan of winter. I hate snow because it turns into slush, and there's nothing worse than walking through slush to class.
Yeah, and speaking of slush, I had a little snafu myself. I went on the ground on my moped the other day, and man, my butt's hurting a little bit from that. I don't think that much. Well, let's start the show off tonight with some Pointers athletics, and then we'll move into some college football and later go around the NFL. And first, the Pointers football team went on the road this past weekend as they took on the undefeated Whitewater Warhawks in a game where the Pointers needed a miracle. It was anything but that. The Pointers were taken down on the day, losing 49-17 for a team that has lived and died by its defense all season long. The defense unit was suspect at giving up big plays through the air. Whitewater quarterback Matt Barrett looked sharp as he threw 4 touchdowns through the air. Anytime a team scores 49 points on a defense, it should be concerning. What went wrong in this one, Marty?
I think what went wrong was Whitewater's the defending national champion. They're a juggernaut for the past couple of years. They're going up. Stevens Point has lost now 2 in a row. They've got their 3rd loss in the season. They've been trending down for a couple of weeks now. Losing Kyle Larson kind of hurts, but this team has been trending down for a little bit. And this was being their tough stretch, too. They want to make a playoff berth, be a surprise team, and it just didn't work out for them this season.
Yeah, and you said it. I mean, Whitewater's a very tough opponent. However, this defense has played very well all season long. I expected them to keep it a little closer than 49-17. But it started with Oshkosh the week before. I mean, they gave up 3 big plays through the air against Oshkosh. And if they're going to do that against Oshkosh, they're going to do it against Whitewater. So, I mean, good job to Whitewater taking care of point at home like that. But then again, I expect a little more out of that defense.
Well, you look in the first half, and I might be wrong on this, but I believe it was 21-17 going into halftime. So, I mean,
21-10.
21-10. So, I mean, somewhat of a close game and low scoring for them playing the defending national champs. So, I mean, you see that in the first half, and the offense was somewhat, 10 points isn't good enough for a half, but, I mean, it was somewhat there. So, that defense did show up for that first half. So, you got to tip your hat off to them for that. But I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think?
I think the surprising thing is that this is probably the best Stevens Point football team we've had in a couple of years. And prior teams, last year I think they lost by 10. The year before they beat Whitewater. So I think the surprising thing is this year's team got outscored got beat that badly compared to teams in years past because this defense has been lights out all year.
Yeah, and I would say the mojo is gone from this team. I think losing Kyle Larson, he must have been a pretty big leader for this team because when he went down, it seems like their mojo is gone with them. So I think the defense, they've stopped playing at such a high level as they did the first few games of the season like that. So I think for a team that lived and died by its defense, against Whitewater like that, they were going to die with their defensive play.
And you can't fall behind a team like that either. They fell behind again. I don't know. I think they may have been at lead at halftime once this year. So, you can't fall behind a team like that.
And something that I'm struggling with, I've struggled with since this Eau Claire game, I don't get where the fall off was with Kyle Larson. Was it a game plan issue with them? He was dominant the first couple games, even versus a good team, and then all of a sudden he just fell off the radar and was throwing inaccurate, throwing interceptions. I want to know where that came from. I really do.
I think he's a sophomore kid. He's young yet, and I think the nerves got to him. Honestly, I do. I think with how good they started 5-0 like that, and to come out and play such good football and upset Northwestern like that, I think what they needed to do was maybe game plan to kind of ease them into games better than they did, but they stuck with the same game plan, and I think the nerves really got to Kyle Larson.
And Adam, you bring up a good point. This might have been, I know it's crazy to say, but maybe a bad timing for Kyle Larson to have the success so early. It's kind of like Cam Newton coming in. He had a rookie year dominant, and then he just kind of fell off the radar. And I hate comparing guys to the NFL, but it's kind of like that, where this guy had so much success in the beginning. Then when he needed to perform in such high octane and high profile times, he didn't, and that's where it kind of fell off.
And I think the community kind of helped to commit to the nerves of Kyle Larson. I think the community is really excited about this Pointers team, and he's thinking, gosh, I got to perform week in and week out to keep the community hoping and praying for this Pointers team to do magical things this year, and it just didn't work out for him.
And Pointers community, I apologize because Adam's making it seem like that you guys shouldn't be going to the game or something. We love the support, so don't shy away from that.
I can't really think of anything on the top of my head other than maybe it's possible that teams found something in film that they got on him. He started off with the year 8 touchdowns, 1 interception kind of thing. Those defenses he was facing to start the year, those weren't bad defenses. They were beating them pretty good. And also, too, maybe they relied on him too much. They didn't go to the running game. They have 3 guys back there. They kept going to Larson. I think he had, a 4-interception game then one time before he got hurt. So they may have said, okay, this is our guy, but maybe he wasn't ready to be the guy yet. But I mean, he's the best quarterback on the roster, but they built their offense around him, and maybe they could have helped him out by building around the running game more.
Well, let's move on. The Pointers really needed a big play from key players on the offense, and Matt Cieszynski answered the bell. Cieszynski had 12 receptions for 170 yards and a touchdown. It was a career day for him for yardage, and he tied his career high with receptions as well. Cieszynski also had his 5th game with 100 yards or more, and he was really been the go-to guy all year for Larson and Cody Nurnberg. And speaking of Nurnberg, he had a pretty good day statistically against the Warhawks as he went 27 of 47 with 303 yards and a touchdown with 1 interception. With a pretty good day from Nurnberg, I mean, can we place the blame on him for this loss?
No, I think in football, if you lose, it's a team loss because there's always certain parts of the game where everybody could have done something. So, I mean, Nurnberg, he's a backup. I mean, he threw for 307 yards, a touchdown, interception. Sure, he'll look back at the interception, but this loss isn't on Nurnberg. It's a team game. It's a team loss. They lost, flat out. It wasn't just him.
Yeah, it goes back to that defense. I think they honestly lost the game for the Pointers. And I mean, yeah, I know it's Whitewater, but they needed to step up for Cody Nurnberg, who hasn't had a lot of experience as a starting quarterback. And he played phenomenal, I think, for going in on the road to Whitewater and playing in an environment like that. I think he did a great job. And finding Cieszynski, I think he had a pretty long touchdown pass to Cieszynski on the day. So, I mean, to find Cieszynski all day like that, I mean, that's impressive.
Now let's move on to stick with the offense. Let's move on to the running game. It struggled to get going once again as DeJuan Wright led the team with only 40 yards on the ground. The Pointers only had 91 yards total on the ground. And with such big game, with so much on the line, how important was having a balance for the offensive side of the ball?
Well, I think the key to having a balanced offense is scoring right away. You got to get ahead of the other team so you can control the game. These guys have not been able to get ahead of any team to start off the year at all. And so once you can't do that, then you're throwing the ball 47 times with the backup quarterbacks, and you can't get the running game going because you're behind. So I think to get a balanced offense, this team has had to get out in front early before other teams did, and they could never do that.
Yeah, and you know, you look at the offensive line all season long, they've struggled to get the running game going against any team, and even against teams like La Crosse and Oshkosh, it struggled to get going. And to go against Whitewater, I mean, they weren't going to get that much going. I mean, I didn't expect them to have that good of a running game, but they needed a balance against Whitewater. Like Marty said, they needed to get ahead of Whitewater to get that balance. So I think balance is very important if you're any football team, and against a team like Whitewater, it's extremely important, and they didn't do that.
Well, I mean, it's no secret. We all know the Pointers are pretty much eliminated from the playoff contention. However, with a 6-3 record, a very winnable game against UW Stout is coming up. Would it be a moral victory for this Pointers team to end the season with a win?
Of course it would be. I mean, 7-3 is a lot better than 6-4, especially when you started off about 5-0. I mean, that means you lost the second half of your season. So I think seniors, they're going to give it their all. It's their final game, college football. They're going to give it all. They want that 7th win. It sets the tone for next season, too, with all these other guys. Like, say, hey, we were 7-3. Let's build off that, too, for next season.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a definite moral victory there. 7-3 season, which is, I think, it exceeds expectations for the Pointers coming into this year. I don't think they expected to do as well as they did. So going into next year, I mean, they've got a very young team. They have to look forward, and they've got to be saying, man, we can do some magical things moving forward with this system, with this coaching staff, and with young guys like Kyle Larson coming back from injury. I mean, that'll help them out a lot next year.
Well, fans, the last Pointer football game of the season will take place this Saturday at 1 p.m. at Gorky Field against UW Stout. Adam and I will have the call for this one for our live sports broadcast. So if you can't make the game, make sure you tune in or check out our link on our SPTV website to find us or on our Pointer Athletic page. Well, let's move on now. The Pointers men's hockey team took a trip to the land of 10,000 Lakes this past weekend as they had a game against Gustavus and St. Olaf, respectively. The Pointers took care of Gustavus rather easily as they won the game 4-1. Lawrence Cornelier led the Pointers with 2 goals on the game. Goalie Brandon Jagger played well for the Pointers as he gave up 1 goal and had 32 saves. As the number 2 team in the nation, you'd expect the Pointers to destroy 0-3 St. Olaf as well, right? Oh, not so fast. The Oles surprised the Pointers and shook up the Division III hockey world as they upset the Pointers 3-2. Pointers never held a lead in the game, and Steve Papacek had 48 saves as he led the Oles to the win. With a loss this early in this season to a team like St. Olaf, What does it say about the Pointers team? I mean, it's pretty telling that they lose to an 0-3 team like this.
I don't think it's telling at all. I mean, I played hockey growing up my entire life, and you can have one of these games where you outshoot this team 50-33. I believe the shot totals were. You can put this puck on net the entire night, but if the other team has a goaltender that's just hot, you're not going to win. The key to hockey success is, do you have a goaltender that can carry you? That's what most teams have. I mean, you have a successful goaltender, your team's going to have a good chance every single night. And that's what St. Olaf had against the Pointers.
See, I think it's a little concerning. I think if you're the number 2 team in the nation, you've got to take care of games like this, because if you look at the team's conference, the WIAC as a whole, they've got tough teams against Superior and against Eau Claire. They've got some good games against tough opponents coming up. I think they needed to take care of these 2 games on the road here in the beginning of the season against Gustavus, which they did. And St. Olaf, and this next weekend, they've got a very tough test against St. Thomas, who's a very good hockey team too. So I think they needed that morale, that motivation that, hey, we're number 2 team in the land. Let's go show the world that we can still play at such a high level like that. And I understand where you're coming from with if a goaltender's hot, it's going to be hard to score against them. But I mean, come on, it was against 0-3 St. Olaf, and they've got to take care of games like that.
And before Marty jumps in, let me play a little devil's advocate with you. I mean, it's a long season, Adam. One loss right now, it's not going to matter when it comes down to it in the year when they're dominating all season long and they have 2 or 3 losses on the year. I mean, what do you have to say to that?
Well, I mean, and I get that point too, but I think what St. Olaf did is they exploited the Pointers, and I mean, the Pointers are showing that they've got to score more than the other team, obviously. And they've got to score and beat teams against like St. Olaf, like who's 0-3, and I mean, maybe they got a little too confident. I don't know, but that could hurt them down the road. I
mean, and you go to Coach Chris Brooks and company and his whole entire team. I mean, is he mad that they lost this game? Of course he is. I mean, they went to the championship, didn't win last year. They'll probably make it though this year. So I mean, this game, you're going to re-game plan and figure out what they did to stop you, but it's really not anything major, I don't think.
Yeah, it's November. They can play up until about March. So this game, I talked to Brooks earlier this season before when they started practice, and he's like, they take a game-by-game approach. Well, what happened? They weren't down like 2-0. They were only down by a goal every time they tied it up. So like it's one of those cases where that team just capitalized on their chances, and they relied on a goaltender. I think this team, they have the WIAC Player of the Year, Garrett Ladd. They returned almost every single top player from last season. So this team will be fine. I think when you say this could be a loss with a 3-game plan, of course they're going to re-game plan. They're going to figure out what went wrong because they know that they can win, and this will just be another motivation thing for them to continue success this season.
And Marty, you're not going to hide away from me either. I just didn't attack Adam here. What I want to know is, I mean, this team's 0-3, and yeah, the goalie was hot, but I mean, Pointers have playmakers. Can't these guys make some plays and score some goals? I don't care who's guarding the net.
Hockey's a strange game, man. Anything can happen on any given night. That's the beauty of the sport. It's one of the best sports in the world, in my opinion. And I mean, anything can happen. Anybody can beat anybody on any single night. And that's what happened. The Pointers just got beat. That's what happened. So this isn't a concerning loss. There's a lot of season left to be played, and this team will bounce back.
Well, the men's team looks to get back on track as they come back home for a game against number 12 ranked St. Thomas on Friday night and a game against St. Mary's Saturday. Both games start at 7 p.m. from Willett Arena. While now in the women's hockey, the team hosted Concordia Moorhead and were able to come away with the sweep. The Pointers won their game both nights 3-1 and 3-0 respectively. Katna Julia and Betsy Anderson helped lift the Pointers to the win with a goal from each of them. The Pointers look to continue to roll this weekend as they open conference play at River Falls. Both games are at 7 p.m. Well, now on to Pointers volleyball. The team hosted the WIAC Conference Tournament this past weekend, and it has really been a magical season for this team all season long. The ride continues as the Pointers swept the Whitewater Warhawks to win the WIAC Conference Tournament for the second straight year. A big congratulations to the team. And the 7th-ranked Pointers get an automatic bid into the national tournament due to their conference championship. Marty, let's ask you first. How far do you think this team can go?
I think this team can go all the way if they play their best games every single time. I mean, this team's they've been riding this train since last season, so this isn't just a one-season deal. This has been going on since last year, and I think this team, they're battle-tested now with Coach Sutherland coaching them, and a lot of people returning from last year's team. So I think this team has a good chance to maybe bring home a national championship.
I think they've got a very good chance, and I think, you look at all the players, they've got such a complete team this year. It's not just a few players stepping up for them, it's the whole team. And I think that they can ride, and I personally think they can and will win the title.
Well, let's move on to basketball. A quick preview for this weekend. The number 7 ranked UW-Stevens Point men's basketball team will host their first home game on Saturday, November 15th at 7 p.m. at Bennett Court at the Quant Fieldhouse against St. Thomas, where the Pointers are 117-13 under head coach Bob Semling. Fans, after the football game, make sure you can catch that game or tune in to our live broadcast where me and Adam will also have the call. It's going to be a long night, Adam, but we're all excited for it. It's going to be exciting to kick the year off with some men's basketball. Well, that's all we have for Pointer Sports. We will take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we will have Badgers, football, and also a college football update. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Laura Braun, the General Manager at SPTV. I'm a Stevens Point native and want to make sure that we're providing you with the best local coverage of all the news, sports, and entertainment as we possibly can. If you have any questions or comments about our organization, feel free to email us or stop by our offices. We're located in the Communication Arts Center at the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point and can't wait to meet you, because today we can make media together.
The Wisconsin Badgers were back in action this past weekend as they took on the Boilermakers of Purdue. They were able to pull past Purdue as they won 34-16. Melvin Gordon carried the Badgers on his back once again as he had 25 carries for 205 yards and a touchdown. Guys, with how well he's played week in and week out, does he deserve a top Heisman candidate spot?
Yeah, yes, he does. I think he is a top 5 Heisman candidate. I don't think he's going to win it, though. It depends. When I think of a Heisman Trophy winner, I think of a guy who's on a winning team and contending in what used to be the BCS like a BCS bowl game. The Badgers need to start winning out the games for Melvin Gordon to have a sniff at winning it, but he'll be in New York. That's my prediction. He'll be in New York.
Yeah, the problem with the Heisman is it's not an MVP trophy. If it was an MVP trophy, I'd give it to Melvin Gordon hands down. He has carried this offense so far this season, but like Marty said, I don't think he's going to win the Heisman. I think he's going to finish maybe 3-4. In there or something, but someone like Marcus Mariota is going to win the Heisman. I don't think it's going to be Melvin Gordon.
And let's go into Mariota. Tell us a little bit about him and why is he so successful right now?
Well, I mean, besides that Arizona loss, he's been very consistent in that offense, and he's such a good fit. And I think Oregon, if they roll to a Pac-12 title, which I think they can and will, I think that's why he's going to win the Heisman, is because he's the leader of that football team, and they keep winning week in and week out, except for that one stumble against Arizona.
Alrighty, well, we'll move on from there then. The Badgers have an early, tough game against Nebraska this Saturday in Camp Randall Stadium. With so much at stake in this one, can the Badgers pull this one off?
I think the Badgers pull this one off because they are at home in Camp Randall. They've taken care of the inferior opponents of this conference, I believe. Maryland, Rutgers, Purdue. You're supposed to blow those teams out, and they did do that. So I think this team, they're coming in confident. That defense right now is probably one of the best in the nation, or playing like one of the best in the nation right now, obviously against inferior opponents. But I think if you hand the ball off to Melvin Gordon and you ride him again, you're going to win. They have to run the ball. They can't rely on Stabby throwing the ball or McAvoy throwing the ball. This team has been built on running for years, and every time there's a big game, I swear they throw the ball. Don't throw the ball. Just run first, pass second.
The thing is, I think Nebraska's going to win the game, no problem. I think somewhere around 35-24 is going to be the final score. I think Nebraska's a more complete team than Wisconsin. You can't just ride Melvin Gordon against a team like Nebraska. You have to have a good balance. And I don't think they're going to find that with Joel Stabby at quarterback. And the thing is, yeah, they took away care of the teams that they're supposed to, but that could give them false confidence moving forward. I think if they welcome Nebraska into their house and, they're riding that confidence high, and then they see how good Nebraska really is on the field, I think it's going to catch them off guard a little bit, and they're going to stumble and lose the game.
Yeah, I don't see this game. I'm going to say this game isn't close. I wanted to throw my paper at the ceiling when Marty was talking. I mean, Marty, you were a little contradicting yourself there. You even said they tend to throw the ball in big games. This is a big game, and they're going to do the same thing. Why wouldn't they?
Well, I think things are different coaching staff. I mean, look what they should look back at that Big Ten title game. It was different. Obviously, it was different coach having Bielema, but they ran it on them. They got like 60 points by running the football on these guys. I don't see.
Hold the phone here. Hold on. You're not jumping in here. I'm jumping in here. LSU game, Marty. same coach, and they were throwing that football in the second half, they would have probably won the game if they would have ran the ball.
Yeah, that game they had some injuries on the
no
defense.
Defense
Oh,
for that.
what?
You have
No, they had
for
defense.
that.
They had
Hold on,
injuries.
you have no defense for that when that's exactly what
Melvin
they did in a
Gordon
big
was
game.
not in the game. He was not in the
Yeah,
game.
the coach told.
He benched him because Melvin Gordon said something.
And that's my exact point. Big games are going to throw the ball and they will lose the
No,
game.
when you're saying that they threw the ball, well, they didn't have Melvin Gordon, so what are they going to do against
Well, the
LSU?
coach took him out. I mean, he made that decision. It's the same thing as you made the decision to run the ball or throw the ball.
No, they took him out of the game. They didn't have Melvin Gordon in that
You
game
can't
to finish
look
off the game.
at that last Nebraska title game.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that was
a
an
new
example.
Nebraska
That was
team,
an
and they're a more complete team. I think you put Wisconsin against a team like Michigan State and Nebraska's place a few weeks back. Nebraska had a very close game with Michigan State at Michigan State. Michigan State's a way better team than Wisconsin,
I
in my
thought I recall
opinion.
Michigan State was up pretty big, though, during that game.
It was 29-22, the final score, I believe.
It was like 29-7 before that.
Well, still, I mean, Nebraska came back, and they're a more complete team than Wisconsin. That's all I'm saying. You know, you look at Nebraska, I think that they're going to win this football game.
I just think home field has an advantage there.
All right, well, we're going to leave it at that, and we will take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll go around the NFL.
Don't let the snow and cold get you down this winter. The frozen tundra outside may keep you indoors, but here at SPTV, we'll still be getting you the best news, sports coverage, and entertainment that you need. Don't freeze your fingers and toes off to find out what's happening around campus. Stay warm, everyone.
Now on to NFL, where we will cover all the games from the past weekend and give our take on the end results. Let's start with this Packers game. The Packers and Bears have one of the best and oldest rivalries in the history of sports. The Packers won the game 55-14.
Packer offense right now looks pretty solid. I love the move of Clay Matthews, inside linebacker. They're not, McCarthy came out and said he's not an inside linebacker, but they're going to move him around, which makes an impact on defense. He can create plays. That's why they call him the Claymaker. So I think that move is great. Bears are a pretty bad team right now, so they took care of a bad team, and they're on a momentum shift going into Sunday.
I don't know how the Bears' offense has stumbled so far, but they have, and I think it showed in that game especially. I mean, the Packers took advantage of the mistakes by Jay Cutler in that offense. So
I can't believe I'm saying this. It's Clausen time in Chicago, folks. Well, the Browns are now atop of the AFC North. I can't believe it. I mean, I know all of us didn't expect that. And they beat the Bengals 24-3.
Browns keep finding a way to win. That's what they do. And bad news for the rest of the division, they're getting their best offensive player back in about a couple weeks in Josh Gordon. So the division had their chance, and they didn't put these guys away, and the Browns have found a way to win with Hoyer.
yeah, and it comes every year again with Andy Dalton. I mean, the Bengals team is falling, and it starts at the quarterback position. They paid him way too much.
Yeah, I'm just not a fan of Andy Dalton. I really don't care about him. Well, let's move on here. The Eagles beat the Panthers 45-21.
The Eagles, they score on every single phase of football. They score offensively, defensively, and special teams. And Sunday afternoon, Packers-Eagles will be a great matchup. Panthers and NFC South is one of the ugliest divisions I've ever seen.
All I got to say for Panthers fans out there, ouch. And secondly, believe in the Sanchez, baby. Mark Sanchez is revived.
Yeah, maybe the Jets were the problem, not Sanchez.
And I'll tell you what, in the words of Stephen A. Smith, the Panthers are a bad, bad team. I'll tell you that right now. They're terrible. All right, let's move on. The Cardinals beat the Rams 41-14.
You're 8-1, but at what cost? You lost your quarterback, but Arians comes out saying we can win with Stan, and they have won with Stan. So the interesting thing is, how can they rise up from injuries and continue their winning?
You know, I called the Cardinals as a sleeper team to go to the Super Bowl, and I don't know if I stand by that without Carson Palmer, but Drew Stanton played pretty well when Carson Palmer was injured earlier on.
You know, Arians said before the season, he told the team, it might have been before the season or during the season, no team should be playing in their home locker room in the Super Bowl. I loved what he said there. I loved his statement. It was bold, and it's really getting to him, and I think Stan can keep this run going for this Cardinals team. Well, let's move on to that same division. The Seahawks beat the Giants 38-17.
Seahawks did what they have to do on offense. Give the ball to Marshawn Lynch. Quit. They need to stop trying to build around Russell Wilson to throw the ball. You got Marshawn Lynch, beast mode. He can carry you and run the ball with him and then go play action with Wilson for second.
Yeah, and I think, that defense finally stepped up again. Good for them. And the Giants, Tom Coughlin's feel pretty bad on that hot seat right now.
Coughlin's bad, and so is Eli Manning. Well, the Falcons beat the Buccaneers 27-17.
Like I said earlier, it's one of the ugliest divisions of football, and Falcons are somehow still alive with 3 wins to win that division. So even the Buccaneers might have a chance, but it's one of the worst divisions of football I've ever seen.
All I got to say about that one, so what? They beat the Buccaneers.
For me, what's going on with Lovie Smith? Come on, wake up over there. All right, the Broncos crushed the Raiders 41-17.
Keeping status quo, high-power offense against one of the worst teams in the NFL. I'm not surprised by it whatsoever.
I'm not surprised either, but good comeback after a heartbreaking loss against the Patriots.
Good comeback, Adam. This team is god-awful. Who cares? Well, the Ravens beat the Titans 21-7.
I think it's a forgettable game, to be honest. I think the Ravens are just keeping pace in the AFC North. Titans, see how Zach Mettenberger progresses through the season and see if Bishop Sankey can do anything. That's about it. Ravens just keep pace in the AFC North.
Yeah, actually good one by the Ravens. I'm not too impressed, but I'm impressed that, they've got to keep up with the Browns now. Who would have thought we'd be saying that?
Who cares? I didn't even write that in the script. Well, the Jets beat the Steelers 20-13.
Well, like I said, the AFC North, I think the Steelers, at the end of the year, where they're at, they're going to look back on this game as how do we lose to the Jets? I mean, and then the Jets come out saying, oh, if we had Michael Vick, we would have won more games. I don't think that's the case. And then the Steelers, they'll look back on this one and just say, what happened? Could it be Justin Bieber? I don't know.
When Rex Ryan's jobless at the end of the year, he's going to look back and think, wow, I'm an idiot for not starting Michael Vick. We would have gotten more wins. I disagree.
Well, I'll tell you what. I love the fight in Rex Ryan. After seeing this game, this guy's going to push until the end, until he's out of there. I like that about him. I really do. So you better sit down over there. Don't be chuckling. Well, the Cowboys roll over the Jaguars 31-17.
Same thing as the Broncos. Better team right now, beating a bad team. And my question is, why was Romo and DeMarco Murray and they're up 31-7 late in the game and not resting your guys?
Good one for the Cowboys. They're back in action. They've got to keep pace with those up-and-coming Eagles. So.
I really don't care. Well, the 49ers beat the Saints 27-14, or 27-24.
Well, the Saints led in a bunch of teams back into playoff contention, including their division and the 49ers. I think the Saints lost this one. The 49ers, they're getting healthy again, it seems like, but they lost Patrick Willis, but they're getting Aldon Smith back. I think this was a big win for the 49ers and a bad loss for the Saints.
Yeah, how can you let that happen on your home turf if you're the Saints? You just blew out the Packers like a few weeks ago in your home stadium like that. How do you let the Niners come in and beat you?
They took about a couple steps forward and took a couple steps back with that loss.
Mm-hmm. You know what, Aints fans? I'm calling you out. The fans in the organization, quit complaining about the penalties. You lost the game, you suck. All right, let's move on. The Chiefs beat the Bills 17-13.
I think the Chiefs are one of the most underrated teams in the league right now. It seems like they just keep winning games. That's what I think I keep hearing. I don't see them losing for a little bit, but they're one of those wild card teams. So look out for the Saints or the Chiefs.
It's a tough division though. They're in the West with the Broncos and Chargers. I think that the Broncos.
You need to get your high horse off this Broncos team. I'm so sick of hearing. You never give your division any credit. The Chiefs. I'll tell you what. Andy Reid is a genius with that offense. You're done.
Hey,
you
Panthers
are done.
guy,
You should be muted right now. The Lions beat the Dolphins 20-16.
So the Lions are 7-2. They've gotten a little bit healthy, but they've been banged up. And they keep coming back in the fourth quarter, and they keep pulling out. I don't see them keep doing this. I don't know. The Atlanta game was lucky. This one was kind of lucky. I don't see how they can keep it up. We'll see. They're a pretty solid team right now, but let's see what happens down the stretch. They were about 7-4, 8-4 last year, and they faltered. Let's see what happens this season.
Marty, I'm not a big believer in luck. So you know what? I think if they're winning, that's they're taking what they've got, and I think they're going to keep rolling up until that last game of the year against the Packers. That's going to be.
Yeah, they haven't won in Green Bay since like 1991.
Well, it could
and I'm
going
to stick to your side here, and I'm going to just dig Marty his little grave that he already dug himself. You had a quote on this show, and this is why I just love my memory when it comes out like this. You said, to the pointers, though, you said the good teams find a way to win, and that's what the Lions are doing. You can eat your words there, and we're going to end this thing right there. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have for tonight, and thanks for tuning in with us. I'd like to thank Adam Yirkovsky and Marty Kauffman for joining me today with their insightful opinions on the debate desk, and a big thank you to our technical staff with all their hard work to make this possible. Be sure to check us out on Facebook at SPTV UWSP Television, or follow us on Twitter at SPTV_UWSP. Also with the UWSP homepage to locate all your Pointer Athletics information. Me and Adam will be doing the game this weekend. Both of them. We have double duty, Adam. I hope you're rested up. You better get those. You better start drinking tea, get the coffee ready, the lozenges, because we're gonna have our voices will probably be gone by Saturday night.
I'm ready to go.
All right, I'm glad to hear that. Well, Stevens Point community, just remember here at Final Take, anything Pointers, anything sports.